Bernard Pierce has a historic day in Maryland.
Try a season's worth of touchdowns in one game. OwlSports Update starts right now. Hello and welcome to this edition of OwlSports Update. Alongside Tom Weisenbach, I'm Lindsay Keeler. Stay tuned to take a behind-the-scenes look at two senior Temple football players.
But first, the football team traveled to Maryland for their next test. After a heartbreaking loss to Penn State, Steve Adazio decided to change quarterbacks. Chester Stewart made his first start of the season as the Owls look to win their first BCS road game since 2002. Let's get to the action. Minute into the game, redshirt senior quarterback Chester Stewart finds Evan Rodriguez for a big catch-and-run gain. Rodriguez would take it all the way down to the 3-yard line. Now this set up Bernard Pierce for the easy touchdown run, but that's just the beginning for Pierce. I hope you like rushing touchdowns because we have so many of them for you today. Now we're still in the first. He gives it to Pierce again. And he dives for the pylon. What a wonderful score. And he gets right back up, and that was so good we're going to show it to you again. This is his second of the quarter, and he wasn't even close to being finished with this one. Now the special teams got into the action as Rod Streeter streaked through the Maryland punt formation, and scoops up the ball for the turnover for the Owls. Next, the speed option. Chester Stewart makes a phenomenal read, and Pierce catches the ball behind him for the scoot and score. Now the Temple defense showed up for the day. They sacked Maryland's quarterback 3 times on the contest. Now Bernard, for his 4th touchdown of the day, in the half, goes 44 yards through all the Maryland's defense. He was just incredible. Now we're going to show off a little bit of defense as the tip drill gets picked off by Justin Gilday. And Maryland was just trying to get some points at this point. Now for Bernard Pierce's last touchdown of the day, he would just cut right through them like a knife through butter. That is the 5th touchdown of the day. That's a MAC record. That's a school record. And Temple beats Maryland and their ugly uniforms by a score of 38-7. Now, with Pierce's great success in this young season, it is easy to overlook the contributions of the men up front. Amongst a new team of coaches, the offensive line for the Owls is a group that has been together for quite a while. I caught up with the big guys to see what makes them tick.
Bernard Pierce is the face of Temple football. He is in the top 5 on Temple's career rushing list and is climbing. But this isn't another story about Pierce. Instead, we look under the helmet of the 5 players who pave his way.
Good running backs have good offensive lines. That's been throughout history. You talk about great backs all the time. They've had really good offensive lines. They're going to make people miss. They get to the second level. That's where they make their money, for lack of a better term.
And this offensive line of Martin Wallace, Wayne Tribune, John Palumbo, Derek Dennis, and Pat Boyle are one of the best in the MAC. Experience is one of the main reasons for this success, with a combined 162 games played while at Temple.
A lot of it's about being cohesive, being one unit, and just I think that's something that we obviously developed over the last few years. We're the best friends off the field, and I think that translates on the field to being one really close-knit group, and working together. So I think it definitely helps being so close to one another.
And the old saying, "You can't coach size," is true in this case. These 5 Owls average 6'5" and more than 318 pounds.
When you're this tall and you're only 12% body fat, it's hard to tell that I'm actually 300 pounds, but you wouldn't really know that because it's just, I'm not a scientist, but I heard muscle weighs more than fat.
Reporting for OwlSports Update, I'm Tom Weisenbach.
And the combination of skill and the experience of 21 senior players has proved to be successful early on for the Temple football team. Amanda Miller has a spotlight on two of those senior players.
Temple University is full of senior athletes, and now you get a spotlight on two of them. Captain number 2, Tahir Whitehead, and number 32, Quentin White, both Temple football players. These two players eat, sleep, and play football. Oh, and of course, they go to class as well.
Well, when I'm not in football practice, I'm either in class all day or internship that I do for my major, so I spend most of my time downtown doing that, or I'm in class.
I'm not here at the football facility. I'm either in class, eating all day, or sleeping.
Since freshman year, these two have been working hard, and now as seniors, they can say the work has paid off.
You don't go into nothing expecting to not put your all into it, so I feel like eventually my time was going to come where I was going to excel and get to the best of my potential, so I always knew I'd make it.
I just felt as long as I always grinded and stuck to the daily plan, like I would end up where I am today.
It might be hard for some student athletes to come into their senior year knowing that they have a different head coach, but not these two. They're ready to take on this new adventure, and hopefully, along with it, comes a MAC championship.
I would like to just go out winning the MAC.
4 years ago, two freshmen walked on this field with a dream, and now as seniors, they're ready for a MAC championship. Reporting for OwlSports Update, I'm Amanda Miller.
When we come back, the men's soccer team took one down to the wire.
And the soccer team wasn't the only nail-biter. The field hockey team has a game decided in the final seconds, when OwlSports Update returns.
Here we go. What? What?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent, because kids in foster care don't need perfection. They need you.
Turning a 20-foot wall into a canvas takes vision. So will getting into college. I've got what it takes. So do you.
It was not. It was like...
It's easy to tell if you've had way too many. But what if you've had just one too many? Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to OwlSports Update. It was a cloudy afternoon at Giese Field, but that didn't stop Temple fans from coming out to watch Bridget Settles and the rest of the Temple field hockey squad take on the visiting Monmouth Hawks. We get right into the action right away with the Owls starting the matchup with an excellent passing game. But it was the visiting Hawks who scored first in the first goal with 10 minutes left in the first half. However, the Owls came back fighting in the second half. The Owls convert a corner into a goal as Tori Cox tips it in from an assist by Emily Furtish. That is Cox's first goal of the season. With only a couple of seconds left in regulation time, Monmouth seizes an opportunity to score the game winner, taking a 2-1 victory. The Temple Owls fall to 3-7 overall. And not even several cancellations due to inclement weather could keep Temple soccer from competing in the first ever game at the new Dunning-Cohen Champions Field at Penn Park. And it was a battle of the birds this weekend as the men's soccer team faced off against the Long Island Blackbirds. The Blackbirds seemed to control the game at first, but it was Temple sophomore number 22, Vaughn Spurrier, who was able to put the Owls on the board with this goal in the 8th minute. Spurrier has 3 goals on the season. But not long after, though, LIU struck back with this ball that Nick Cavretti would rebound off the post for the equalizer. The Blackbirds nailed another shot home past sophomore goalie Bobby Rosado to make the score 2-1. The Owls had opportunities, but ended up losing to LIU 4-1.
And in women's soccer, the Lady Owls defeated Francis Marion thanks to sophomore Carly O'Toole's penalty kick. That kick was the only tally, and the Owls beat the Patriots 1-0. Later in the week, they faced off against Siena. Although they had a chance to tie the score in the final minutes of the game, they fell in a heartbreaker 3-1. The Owls are now 3-6, and they will face A10 and Big Five foe LaSalle this Friday at 7.
And Temple Volleyball took a road trip to Ohio this weekend to take on two of its toughest opponents in their first conference games of the season. The Owls kicked off their away game weekend with their A10 opener against Xavier. Temple looked strong during the first set, with Xavier just sliding by 25-23. But the Musketeers were able to pull ahead and sweep the Owls in 3 sets. But the team was right back at it in the next day as they went up against the defending A10 champs, the Dayton Flyers. It was more of the same, with Dayton's offense dominating early. Your final, Dayton 3, Temple 0.
And Bernard Pierce was so good this weekend that we decided he owned the nest this week. He was nominated for the FRS Running Back Performance of the Week. Voting can be done on www.facebook.com/allstarfootball. Voting ends Sunday, October 2nd.
And it's really no surprise here that Pierce was also named MAC Offensive Player of the Week. That's his second title of this season.
And with his 5 touchdowns against Maryland, Pierce is now 1 touchdown away from tying Paul Palmer's touchdown record of 39. He also leads all NCAA schools with 12 touchdowns on the season. And that's going to do it for this week's edition of OwlSports Update. For coverage on all things Temple Athletics, make sure to head on over to OwlSports.com.
Alongside Tom Weisenbach, I'm Lindsay Keeler. Have a great week. We'll see you back here soon.